Good morning. It is Sunday, July 14th, 2024. I'm Thomas Caldwell of the Aurelian Column, and this is a special report on the attempted assassination of former President Trump. Yesterday, July 13th, 2024, Saturday, will go down in history as a pivotal moment in the American political system. I've been following this from the moment I saw it. I happened to have been watching the rally when the shots rang out, and I went into action at that time to see what was going on. Now, first off, there are a lot of inconsistencies with the story. That's understandable this early on. A lot of things that I don't think add up or make sense, but I'm going to leave that for another time to be discussed. Right now, a lot of people are going to have to see how this is going to go. First off, if you didn't believe in divine providence, you probably do now, because Trump was in the sights of this guy. There have been reports of other people involved, but nothing has panned out yet. But just to say, the person who did have him in his sights had him dead. But at just the right moment, just the right fraction of a second, Mr. Trump turned his head right towards the assassin, as it would turn out. And the bullet that was destined to treat everybody watching the event to a Zapruder film-like living color spectacle just grazed his ear. He came within a fraction of a second of being killed. And American history was sent on a new trajectory. Whether or not he lived, it's on a new trajectory right now. Assassins are the most loathsome of creatures known to man, because they take it upon themselves, or whoever hires them takes it upon themselves, to alter the way of things in a very dramatic and a very, very sudden way. The man who shot Archduke Ferdinand and his wife and set off World War I, which eventually led to World War II, was one such loathsome creature. Although it gets me into some trouble, I'm quite convinced that Lee Harvey Oswald killed John F. Kennedy, and that bullet that killed the 35th President of the United States sent the U.S. in a different trajectory, which arguably led to the Vietnam War and a lot of other rather nasty realities. But what we're looking at here is the worst possible timing and the best possible timing, depending on what side of the fence you're on. I have to point out the obvious, that the U.S. is in a cold civil war right now. This country is very divided. And there is a great deal of hatred this morning towards those people who have made this country such a mess, the liberal Marxist establishment. They have persecuted Trump, and they've persecuted Trump's followers. They've done everything they can to put people in prison, including the January 6th crowd, Steve Bannon, others. And now suddenly I'm watching all the mainstream media this morning, and they're saying, oh, we have to dial it back. Well, sorry, folks, you've been dialing it up for a very long time right now. It's interesting, this morning, nobody's talking about Joe Biden being senile. In fact, I was watching some mainstream reports from New England, and one of the anchors pointed that out. This morning, nobody's talking about this, and everyone's trying to keep things calm. Well, I'll tell you, they probably saw the feed I was seeing after Trump was shot. I was watching the official Trump campaign feed, and they were interviewing people that were walking away from the event. And these people, well, I'm not going to name them, and I don't know who they are, but they were out for blood. That's not good either. But this is happening just a couple of days before the Republican National Convention, as a massive amount of people in Congress are calling for Joe Biden to be removed from office. I mean, Trump is the next president. That's the way it's going to go. So everything is a little bit too coincidental. Now, I'll tell you what, even if this does turn out to be some lone crazy person who for some reason, as I said, drove about an hour to a place that he may not have been to before, climbed up on a building with a rifle in broad daylight, and didn't find Secret Service agents on the roof. Okay. But the fact is that the second rule of assassination was not kept, and that is he missed. Now, I don't know how much anger Mr. Trump is feeling today, knowing that he came within really a millimeter or two from being killed and having his family suffer the horror of dealing with a murder. And I personally have had to deal with close friends who've been murdered. And I can tell you, it's horror. So what I'm going to say is this. Everybody should keep their heads, but at the same time, don't believe what you're being told in the mainstream. I had to hold my nose and watch a lot of mainstream broadcasts, and I was shocked at how much they were playing up Mr. Biden's very quickly put together address to the nation on this. How everybody, all the left-wing politicians are talking about we can't have violence, even though they've been perpetrating violence for some time now and promoting it. Ask the people who've been in cities that were burned down by Antifa. Ask the people who've been attacked by these terrorist thugs that roam our cities at will. Ask those who've lost family members to illegal invaders who've come across the United States border in the South unchecked. All the stories of people who've been arrested, turned out on the streets so they can commit more crimes, even though they had no legal right to be in this country. Ask them about violence. Ask them about toning things down. I think the liberal establishment, the deep state, whatever you want to call it, is terrified this morning, and it has reason to be. Because I assure you, nobody's going to buy that this is, in any way, shape, or form, one big unfortunate coincidence and one crazy dude. It could be, but the fact is it doesn't matter because perception is 90% of reality. This morning, everybody in the United States who's a real big Trump fan, every one of them, and depending on how you count them, it's a good 100 million or so, really believe that the establishment tried to kill him. Doesn't matter if it's true or not, it's what people believe. The USS Maine, the battleship that was blown up in Havana Harbor, almost certainly blew up by accident. It was most likely a coal fire that spread to the magazine. It set off the Spanish-American War that resulted in the U.S. getting territory, including the Philippines, Guam, and Cuba, and Puerto Rico. Perception is 90% of reality. And if it does come out that there were some people behind this, it scares me as to what could be on the horizon. Right now, I would advise people not to give in to mob hatred and mob rule. After 9/11, there were quite a few people who attacked perfectly safe and sane Indian citizens who had turbans on. The other thing, too, is there's one person who's dead, and there are two that are seriously injured right now. And nobody's really talking about them too much, and they should be. But we're going to be seeing a very interesting few days ahead. I would urge people not to give in to the worse angels of your nature. But at the same time, those who have made things miserable for citizens in this country over the last several years, well, Julius Caesar learned a very, very important lesson the hard way. Is once you gain power, he thought it was a good idea to show mercy to your enemies. And he had that magnanimous gesture returned with quite a few daggers underneath togas. I have a feeling that Mr. Trump, and more important, the people that will be working for Mr. Trump, will not have that thought in mind. Anyway, stay tuned for more. You know where to get me if you need to contact me at feedback@aureliancolumn.com. That's feedback@aureliancolumn.com. I'm up on X, formerly known as Twitter. And my handle there is MICCAMPEN. That's MICCAMPEN. Please like and subscribe. Tell your friends. But very important, and listen to this, be good, be safe, be vigilant, be calm, be smart, and good day.